The following program is to provide entertainment and information. It is not considered to be any legal or investment advice.
Welcome to the new Fannie Valuation Hotline. For our Sex Panther AVM department, press 1. For our Chronic Bifurcation division, press 2. For our Uber Driver Inspector Training department, press 3. For our I Love Appraisal Waivers division, press 4. If you are calling about embracing value acceptance, press 5. If you have received a Fannie Mae State Board love letter, press 6. If you have an uncontrollable desire of getting scored by our CU, press 7. For employment opportunities, press 8 or visit our online portal at getmeinthebigfannie.com. That's getmeinthebigfannie.com. Finally, if you are in need of a full third-party unbiased real estate appraisal with a complete property observation performed by a highly educated, experienced, and state-certified real estate appraiser, hang up the phone immediately and call the VA.
Good morning, appraisers. Let's talk some real estate. You're listening to the voice of Appraisal, the #1 appraisal podcast in all of America that always brings you the latest news and information from the front lines of the real estate market. Anything from market conditions, appraisal regulations, cryptocurrencies, big bank news. Folks, if you have a question, we have all of your answers. We are the one-stop source for all of your real estate appraisal information needs. If you want to be in the know, you have definitely tuned in to the right show. I'm your host, Phil Crawford. Happy to have all of you here with us again. Back, Kevin, for our 10th year. Our 10th year on the Voice of Appraisal podcast. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. This is their modernization. The real estate appraisal performed by a real estate appraiser is the last option moving forward when it comes to valuing property. It's as simple and easy as that. We are their last option, and they own it. They own it all, Kevin. They own the Sex Panther AVMs, Kevin. They own the Chronic Bifurcation. They own the I Love Appraisal Waivers, because the appraisal waivers cause so much housing inflation in the markets between 2020 and 2023. They own the embracing of value acceptance. They own the love letters, Kevin. They own embrace value acceptance. They own it all. They own every single bit of it. And now we're going to see in 2024 and 2025 how they measure up when it comes to the bonds that they sell to Wall Street, to the mortgage-backed securities that they put together. We will see how well they own the valuation space. And what does that mean for you as real estate appraisers? What does that mean for you? That means you better change your business really quickly if you want to look at this appraisal gig, if you would, as a profession instead of just a job. That's the way you got to look at it.
That was my question, Phil. How would you look at this as a profession and not just a job?
There's a ton of opportunities for real estate appraisers when it comes to the profession side. But if you're going to be working for the GSEs, if you're going to be working for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that is not going to be your profession. That's going to be a job. That is going to be, in my estimation, by 2025, an entire army of valuation analysts. Not appraisers, but valuation analysts. And they will probably make, very similar to what credit analysts make, probably about $25 an hour. So it's going to be a $25 an hour gig moving forward. And this is a conversation that I have had with my son, who goes to one of the top business schools in America today. I've had this conversation with him about becoming an appraiser. I know he's going to go into real estate in some way. He's going to go into some vertical of it. He's got some really big goals that he set out for himself. So I do know that there's been some high-profile appraisers out there that have announced that their children are going into the appraisal business. So if you're in those sort of, corporate levels where your kid is going to be able to directly benefit from your position, I say that's kind of the way to go when it comes to the Big Fannie and the Big Freddie. But as far as you as an appraiser, an individual appraiser, where do you see your future? You got to do what I do. You have to go out there. You have to get 50, 60, 70 lawyers to work with. No matter what town you're in, I guarantee you there's 20 or 30 or 40 lawyers that need your help when it comes to their divorce and estate work. Just out there, it's available to you. That's sort of the path moving forward. Everything that we talked about at Appraiser Fest 2018, that's what needs to be done when it comes to the profession. To be a professional in this business. You're going to have to kind of run your office like a law office instead of the traditional order-taking appraisal office that I think a lot of us got used to over the last 4 years, okay? It's happening. It's happening. Fannie is coming out with their new online portal sort of thing coming out very soon. Lots of things are taking place in Washington, D.C. This is a huge week in Washington, D.C. Today, the OCC is hosting a public appraisal subcommittee hearing on appraisal bias. Now, this is the same type of hearing that Jonathan Miller was at about 4 months ago, and he represented us very well as a working real estate appraiser. Well, today, the appraiser that's representing working real estate appraisers is Maureen Sweeney. So the attractive and beautiful Maureen Sweeney will be on the OCC panel talking about appraisal bias and appraisal bias issues. Behind her, sitting in the same room, will be the intelligent and attractive Lori Noble, who will also be there supporting Maureen and all appraisers throughout the country. Maureen and Lori, the two goddesses of Appraiser Fest 2018, we are well represented in Washington, D.C. Very excited to have them there. Also, the Appraisal Regulatory Compliance Council, known as the ARC Project, is also sending representatives to Washington, D.C. to have meetings with movers and shakers and policymakers throughout the week as well. So we're going to be very, very highly represented in Washington, D.C. And I think there's actually, believe it or not, I think there's an FHFA appraiser modernization meeting that's going on too. It's like an all-day event about the modernization, about basically their new valuation hotline and all the wonderful products that they have to offer to the American consumers out there. So it is pretty amazing.
Basically, the hotline that you just had at the beginning,
yes,
right?
Yes, that hotline right there. All their new products, all their new that is right there. That is appraisal modernization, and let's see what happens. I mean, let's see what happens for Fannie and Freddie. This is a big move for them, and for the rest of the country, it's a big move because all of these bonds, all of these structured investment vehicles that these guys put together and sell, they back up the American currency. These guys, they back up the American currency. This is a matter of national security. I'm not kidding you. So, I mean, the bottom line is if they want to go down this path, they've already chosen it. I can't stop it. No one can stop it. You can't stop it. There's no stopping this, okay? It's going to happen. So let's see what they do to the currency of the United States of America. We're already at $34 trillion in debt. Let's see how they back up that currency with these loans and with these packages using these valuation techniques. Different valuation techniques than the traditional real estate appraisal. You have to go where you are needed. And the traditional real estate appraiser is needed in the courtroom. The traditional real estate appraisal is needed in the lawyer's office. The traditional real estate appraiser is going to be needed in the sales space. Okay, this whole thing with Zitzer-Burnett, the Zitzer-Burnett lawsuit decision that came out on Halloween Day 2023, that's going to have a huge impact on the National Association of Realtors. I'm going to make this call right now. I give the National Association of Realtors 18 months to live. I think in 18 months, the National Association of Realtors will no longer be in existence. Sell off that building in Chicago, shut down that building in Washington, D.C., because they are too top-heavy when it comes to the cost to run that organization. Their CEO, which Jonathan Miller and I just talked about on the last show, remember him, Bob Goldberg? Their CEO just stepped down. The other president had to step down because of the sexual harassment. The other president had to step down because she was getting blackmailed. When all of these brokers across the country sit there and go, we need to allow salespeople to join the MLSs and not be members of the National Association of Realtors, you're going to see the NAR collapse. And when the NAR collapses and when these new rules and regulations come out, when it comes to compensation to the buyer's representation, I think there's a really good opportunity for real estate appraisers to jump into that space. I'll have a whole show on it, but I do believe there is a good opportunity to jump in that space. There's also a really good opportunity for real estate appraisers to become real estate agents. Just remember one thing. As a real estate appraiser, your skills, your tools, your techniques, they are extremely marketable in the marketplace, especially if you want to become a real estate agent, because you're going to be able to represent buyers better than other agents could. You're going to be able to do much more with that. I, as a real estate appraiser, use all of my skills and techniques to buy investment property of my own, to flip property of my own. You have a good skill set, and you need to use that skill set moving forward. The greatest thing about real estate appraisers, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not trying to discourage any of you from staying in the business, but I looked at two really good, serious job offers last year. Really good, serious job offers. And you have to remember, a lot of you out there have run businesses for literally 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. You know how to get things done. You know how to meet deadlines. You do have some really good skill sets out there, and start looking around at other things. Fannie and Freddie are no longer going to be your clientele. They are going to hire valuation analysts, and they're going to probably level out about 2025, 2026 at about $25 an hour. As a matter of fact, that's what it's going to be, 25 and 25. $25 an hour in 2025. I was talking with Lori Noble the other day, and it was absolutely genius. She brought up this new system that Fannie and Freddie are going to put out. So for those of you that haven't heard, Fannie and Freddie are going to have a quote-unquote online portal where you put all of your information in. You're not going to have the forms. You're not going to have the 1004 form or the 1073 form anymore. You're going to have this online portal. And Lori brought up a very good point. She said, when you log on to that portal and you start to do your work, some of you out there, it's going to take like 5 hours to get this form done, to get this analysis done. Others of you, it's going to take like a half an hour. So I have a feeling that what Fannie and Mae is going to do, and they're going to be able to see how many people are on the portal at once, what they're doing, and how long it takes for them to fill out, because they can see when you log on and they can see when you log off and the product's done. So I think they're probably going to sit there and say, let's take the average time it takes for the average appraiser across the country, and we're going to pay those appraisers hourly based on that average time. So if, for instance, it takes, on average, 5,000 appraisers to complete the new form in an hour and a half, we're going to pay them $25 an hour. It takes on average an hour and a half, so therefore we're going to pay $37.50 for this order. $37.50 for this appraisal. Now, some of the appraisers out there are going to be like, wait a second, it takes me 4 or 5 hours. Then Fannie can come back or Freddie can come back and say, well, that's your inefficiency. That's on you. See, we're paying $25 an hour here. We're paying $25 an hour. If the average appraiser out there is taking an hour and a half to get this thing done. If it takes you 5 hours to get it done, that's on you. That's not on us.
My problem.
Not my problem anymore, because there's other appraisers out there that have embraced technology, that have done things that they need to do that they can get this report done in a half an hour. So they're going to base it on the average amount of time it takes to fill that form out. Because you're going to get all the data and information from the property collections guy. Remember, all Fannie and Freddie are doing is scaling an appraisal business. They're just scaling it on a nationwide level. So as long as they can get out there and say, listen, you know what? We got the data collectors coming in. As soon as you log on, you have an hour and a half to complete this assignment, and you're going to make $25 an hour. Same thing as a credit analyst, $25 an hour. Now, you're probably saying, Phil, where are you getting this $25 an hour? Where are you getting this $25 an hour? Well, a couple years ago, and I'm not going to mention names, but several years ago, there were some big players in the appraisal industry that came out and made the most stupid comment I've ever heard in my entire life. And they basically said that appraisers were worth $50 an hour. That an appraiser usually gets paid $50 an hour for a residential appraisal report. Now, when you go to a big corporation, like Fannie, like Freddie, like a big bank, if they work for $50 an hour right now without embracing technology, once they embrace technology and go with the new system, then we can scale down that pay to $25 an hour. You see, it's all about scaling that down. Under the old system, they make $50. Under the new system, they make $25. That's how corporate America works. It's all about efficiency, right? For the longest time, there has been a great number of people in the banking system that have always declared that appraisers are overpaid. They always nail us on the appraiser fee. You look at a loan that's being done today. The agents get 6%. The loan officer gets what? Half a point, maybe 1 point, right? You got all the other title company and everything else. They get, and you got our measly fee, and yet they always bitch about it. They're always bitching about that fee. And the reason why is they've always looked at the appraisal profession as it's just not worth what they get paid.
Why is it always the appraiser that's at fault?
Because we have no leadership. There's no leadership going on. When you don't have leadership, this is what happens. Just forget about the GSEs. These are the things that are coming down the pike. There's nothing we can do to stop it. We tried everything that we could on this show to alert the consumer protection agencies, to alert the regulatory agencies, all of these things. We've done everything that we can do here to stop something that is just taking place.
So now you're saying basically the ball is now in their court.
It's in their court. They own this whole thing. They own this whole thing, and they've basically made the announcement. By 2025, we're going to roll out the new system, and by 2025, $25 an hour is what you're going to make as a real estate appraiser working in the secondary market.
My question, Phil, is
yes,
who out there in their right mind is going to put themselves through this rigmarole
yeah.
for 25?
Well, the younger generation isn't going to do it. They're not going to do it. I mean, you got all these initiatives out there talking about we want to have more young people in the business. We want to have more diversity in the business, which I totally agree with. But you got to bring the money, Lebowski. I mean, you got to bring it. All right. This is a serious job, and you can't sit there and say, okay, this is what these kids are going to be compensated at. You know.
Plus, another thing that I was just thinking of. Let's say you do this as a profession. You put the time in.
Yeah.
You're there. You said, I would do nothing else but appraisals.
Right.
You sneeze wrong, you get thrown to the state.
Yeah.
The state says, no, you're done.
You're done. Well, that's where the regulatory.
What are you gonna do?
Well, you got a regulatory problem too. I mean, they're destroying the entire group, right? I mean, there's. I think there's like. I mean, they say there's like 80,000 appraisers. There's only like 15,000.
I don't mean to laugh.
No, it's true. I mean,
I don't mean to laugh, but
we're
if you
fucked.
laugh,
I mean, it's
you're
just
going to cry.
It's completely fucked. I mean, they're not going to bring people in. And, if you went into this business, and don't take this the wrong way when I say this. Don't take this the wrong way. But if you went into this business because you're an introvert, because you don't have the personality to go out and meet with people and shake hands and give presentations and stuff that I do, if you don't have that personality, you went into this business because you're introverted, but appraisal was kind of cool because it was a little like accounting in a way, and you can be introverted and go ahead and still do your job. Those days are done. They're done. This is a big year. I mean, 2024 is going to be the biggest fucked up year in American history, I think. I mean, this is just going to be out of control. We've got so many things going on in the country. The housing affordability in this country.
It's out of control.
It's out of control, and it's been a nonstop topic for like last year, and it's really starting to get heated this year too. I think on The View just recently, Whoopi Goldberg went crazy about one of her guests saying, we can't afford houses and stuff like that. And Whoopi's like, get out there and work harder and work harder and work harder. A lot of these kids are not going to be able to buy these houses. They're not going to be able to buy them. And so we have another show coming up where I'm going to talk about Zitzer Burnett. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to talk about the commercial conspiracy. And then I'm going to talk about Jeff Bezos. Fucking Jeff Bezos has just pissed me off so bad recently. I will talk about him too. But there's going to be a lot of players out there buying houses, and people are not going to be able to afford them, Kevin. Yeah.
But you were saying earlier about the housing prices and that. I remember reading an article somewhere where they said that the general public holding two jobs now cannot afford a 2-bedroom house.
Yeah, a 2-bedroom house, right. They have to rent. It's neo-feudalism is what it is. It's neo-feudalism. Jeff Bezos is going to take your inalienable right to own property. He's going to take it away from you and pay you 3%. That's a different show. That's a different show. That's a different show. He's on his yacht right now having a good time. But that's what he's going to do. And the appraisers know it. I mean, I've seen some of the numbers coming out of Jeff Bezos' new company, and the numbers are bull. I mean, they're absolute bull. And I'll just break it down on a different show. But why is that, Kevin? Why is it that so many people are having a hard time affording a house? It all goes back to March 5th, 2020. Data point 0. March 5th, 2020. Me in the truck doing the truck cast. March 5th, 2020. It's when the 10-year Treasury yield went below 1% for the first time in American history. The interest rates went down completely. You had this big fire rise up because everybody wanted to go out and buy houses and buy houses and buy houses. But at the same time, Fannie and Freddie allowed for a massive increase of appraisal waivers. And they allowed for the increase of appraisal waivers during purchase transactions, which you and I have been talking about since 2018, was the dumbest idea you could ever do. The appraiser is a natural road bump in the lending ecosphere, and they took it away. And they caused massive, massive housing inflation. I'm going to guess, I can't prove it, but I'm going to guess that the appraisal waiver program over at Fannie Mae probably caused housing inflation by 15%. I would say 15%.
I just wish they would quit with the pissing in the wind.
They started pissing in the wind. They went to appraisal waivers, and then he started embracing value acceptance. And every time that you do any of those products in a purchase transaction, a new set of comps is generated. Pretty soon, those new sets of comps are going to start rolling through the collateral underwriter's AI capability because they haven't released that AI yet. I'm sure it's over there being worked on right now. Let's look at the two situations here. As an appraiser, you still want to be appraising. You don't want to work for $25 an hour. Let's just long game this just for a minute, okay? let's say, for instance, in 2025, Fannie Mae's okay. Fannie Mae's okay. They're right. We were wrong. We suck. They do it better. So those bonds are better. They're better rated. They're better secured. So what do we do? Well, you got to go down the path of doing business like I do business, right? What if Fannie Mae is wrong? What if Fannie Mae, because of their new modernization, completely in 2025 shits the bed? I mean, I'm talking a complete, absolute shitting of the bed. What happens then? Then there's going to be a lot of things that are going to need to be fixed and a lot of real analysis that has to be done. That's when the professional appraiser could jump in there and say, what did they break? How did they break it? And let's try to fix this. I think that could be the case, too. There's been a lot of people out there that have, I guess the slogan is survive to 25. Just survive to 25. And if you can survive to 25, and by 2025, you may be making 25 an hour. Just survive to 2025, see what happens with the big Fannie, and see how they handle the situation. We've done the best we can, Kevin. You and I, we've gone out here. We have put our ass on the line. How many times we put our ass on the line on this show? So many times.
10 years.
10 years, putting our ass on the line, trying to better the profession, trying to say, look, you know what, guys? You can't do this. You can't do that. This is danger here, danger there, danger. Now it's serious. Now it's serious. It's real. Consumer protection. Throw that shit out the window. That doesn't exist anymore. Now it is the overall security of the country, the backing of the American dollar, and a matter of national security. Take us out of the equation, and let's see what happens. So big day today in Washington, D.C. Maureen Sweeney, Lori Noble in Washington, D.C., along with a lot of other people, too. That will remain incognito for the moment, Kevin. Incognito, meeting with movers and shakers and policymakers behind closed doors to push forward some messaging to people in Washington, D.C. So a lot of good things are going on this week. And I want to thank all of you for listening to this show for 10 years, for a complete decade now. We're going to put up a good fight for one more year. Let's see if we can do it, Kevin, and see if we can make some positive changes in the appraisal industry. If you guys need anything, give us an email at info@voiceofappraisal.com, info@voiceofappraisal.com. I'm slammed. I'm busy. I'm busy all the time. But I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Get out there. Start meeting with all of your attorneys. Start meeting with all your lawyers. Start redeveloping your business and survive it to 2025. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show. And as always, I'd like to thank you for listening. As we journey through the mysteries and complexities that are, in fact, the real estate appraisal business, I'd like to thank my producer, Kevin Kenny, for being here, for his thoughtful insight and knowledge. God willing, we're going to be back here very soon, continuing to report from the front lines of the real estate market. In the meantime, you kiss your spouse, you hug your children, enjoy your day, be safe in the field. You've been listening to Phil Crawford on Voice of Appraisal. We'll talk very soon.